Hey everybody, this is Twist, and I am super excited because The Sims 4 is finally getting fairies, and I have been waiting for this for years. They just announced a new expansion pack, and I absolutely cannot wait. I am already pre-ordering, and I can't wait. I'm gonna just take you through what they've revealed so far, and hopefully you guys are just as excited as I am. I have loved The Sims since the original. I played all of the Sims games. I even dabbled a little bit in the Sims Social on Facebook, which, looking back, I'm kind of glad that that didn't really take off. Facebook games were pretty annoying as it was. So, yeah, but this. I can't wait. In The Sims 3, fairies were definitely my favorite occult, and I've been disappointed for a really long time that in 4 we didn't have fairies. We could only have either spellcasters, vampires, werewolves, aliens, mermaids, ghosts. You can become the Grim Reaper, but you couldn't become a fairy, at least not without mods, until now. And that is so great. So let's just take a quick look at this expansion and see what the devs have decided to give to us. It looks like it's going to be so much fun, and I really can't wait. So as you can see, the expansion is going to be called Enchanted by Nature. I really like that name. Um, the Sims has been known for having, sometimes like little snappy names for things. I think this one is actually really cute. And I think that looking at what it's going to have, I think that the name of the expansion really does reflect what's going to be coming gameplay wise. So as you can see here, it's obviously very nature themed. We have little fairy right here. It's very cute. It's really very fairy core, very cottage core. It's gonna, probably be, a really good expansion on its own. And I feel like a lot of this decor will also go really good if you have the cottage living or horse ranch expansion packs, because you can kind of utilize all of that together and probably create these absolutely beautiful outdoor paradises. You could even incorporate some stuff from like the camping expansion and the jungle adventures expansion, and probably even island living to create these like absolutely beautiful things that you can see. And like, we've got these little pots. These are really cool for plants that you're going to be able to put on shelves so that you don't have to have, all of your garden outside, even though this whole expansion is built around being outside. But I like that for those indoorsy Sims can still have like a veritable jungle in their homes now if they want. And as you can see, you can apparently also bathe in outdoor water, which will be fun. And I am really excited about these fairy customizations. They look like they're going to be way more customizable than they were in The Sims 3. That was always one of the failings I thought of The Sims 3 fairies, was that your wings, while you could choose the color and you could choose their appearance, there just weren't that many appearances to choose from. And so all of my fairies would end up with the same wing pattern or the same wing color. Plus, when you tried to use darker colors in The Sims 3 for your fairy wings, they often looked odd, and it was just much better to pick like paler pastel colors for wings. So this is looking like we're going to be able to have much more vibrant, bright, interesting colors for wings. I'm looking forward to making these beautiful rainbow wings that I have in mind. I'm just so stoked about this whole thing. It all looks like it's going to be really good. Here's some more of like these options that we have for appearances and these like, new skin tones and such that are coming with the fairies, which will apparently have two different forms. So they can be in a fairy form and in a Sims form, and the fairy forms are can be quite fantastical from what I see. And this is going to be a glimpse at the new world that's coming. So those are the screenshots that they've given us to look at. And then here we have a little bit about the expansion itself. So here we can talk a little bit about like the skill that it's going to be bringing in, called natural living, which seems that it's going to make it so that your Sims will become comfortable living outside, and eventually they'll be able to kind of exist outdoors and living at one with nature, sleeping on the ground. They don't need plumbing. It says that they can relieve themselves in a privy bush, but we already have bushes that you can use for the bathroom, so I don't know how that's a feature, unless you don't have jungle adventures, of course. So anyway, you'll be able to talk to nature, so maybe that'll probably increase your social need. You can forage for food. And it says that Sims will be a little bit uncomfortable at first, but then as their skill level in natural living increases, they'll become more comfortable with it. There's going to be three new traits. There'll be plant lover, disruptive, um, and they will and mystical Sims. And plant lovers will be happy around plants. So I imagine that will synergize really well if you're into synergizing your Sims traits, which I can't play anything casually. I imagine that will synergize really well with things like loves the outdoors. And probably you could even combine that with something like Child of the Islands, or and create this basically hippie sim, or you could combine it with a Green Fiend, and you could have all of these sims that just absolutely love nature and don't ever want anything else. I think that's going to be so great. And then the mystical sims are going to have some empathy, and they're going to want to like help other sims. They'll get a boost to their apothecary skill, which we'll talk about in a minute, and their gardening skills will grow faster. And then there's disruptive sims who it says they love freedom and excitement, even if their fun is at the expense of others. So I kind of get the feeling that these are going to be like chaotic neutral sims, or they just kind of do whatever they want. There's already several traits in the game that are similar. So I'm not really sure how that's gonna play out. It says that they'll build mischief, logic, and charisma skills faster. I've never really cared for mischief skills in the game. I think they're more disruptive than anything else, and I think that most of the time, um, they'll either create these really bad negative relationships with other Sims, or for some reason I won't be able to understand why my Sim finds it so funny when somebody else walks up to them and burps in their face, because that's just not funny to me. So but hey, to each their own. I'm not trying to humor shame my Sims. So yeah, as we saw, so this is we talk about the growing plants inside. So there'll be these new tabletop plant pots that you can put you can put them in medium-sized spaces. You can put them on tables, on shelves, and apparently you can use them to grow both your harvestable produce and decorative plants. um, and there'll be a nature press which you can use to create candles and wall art from treasures you find. You can already make candles if you have the expansion to do so. With that's the eco lifestyle expansion pack. So I'll be interested to see how that synergizes with the candle crafting table from that expansion. So, of course, we can't talk about this expansion without talking about fairies. I am so excited. I cannot wait. Fairy Sims, like other cults, will get experience by using their powers. There will be new ailments in the game, which I guess are just going to be a different kind of curse, much like what spellcasters get. And fairies will be able to inflict these ailments on other Sims as well as cure them. They'll be able to change the mood of other Sims. There's going to be a new luck system that is in the game, and fairies will be able to influence your luck. I imagine fairies will probably also have a healthy dose of their own luck. They can bottle emotions, create seeds, and of course, they can make plants bloom. And so that's probably going to be my main thing. I'm probably going to change all of my Sims to fairies. I might even cheat to do so, just so that I can have my current Sim just magically become a fairy from a spellcaster, or I might just have her go do the quest. Maybe I don't need to cheat. Who needs to cheat? It's The Sims, whatever. Anyway, fairies are apparently nourished by emotions, so their abilities will cost emotional energy, and they will have to refill that when they run out. So that's an interesting mechanic. And so then we have these new fairy forms, which are really cool too. There'll be new facial presets and some skin tones, tattoos that glow, fairy core fashion. Fairies are going to have this separate fairy form, like you can see here in this picture. This fairy has horns, so that's actually a really kind of traditional look at fairies, who are not always beautiful and cute, but are often quite mischievous and not very friendly. Um, So they'll have this separate fairy form and a normal sim form, and you can start and create a sim as a fairy, or you can become a fairy by going through a quest where you summon Mother Nature and visit a place called the Enchanted Springs. Fairies will have a new woohoo that is unique to them. I imagine it'll just be woohooing in the fairy house, probably just like in The Sims 3. Um, which I always found interesting that fairies could woohoo in the fairy house with a full size sim. They would just magically shrink the full size sim down to fit in the fairy house, but to each their own, I guess. Anyway, fairies will also have a new death where they die by emotional starvation. I hope I don't have to witness that, but I'm sure I will. And then, of course, fairies will have fairy dust. So they had fairy dust in The Sims 3 as well. It just made other fairies, or not other fairies, it made other Sims float and kind of fly around. So I imagine that we'll be able to do similar things since you can bring gnomes to life and they'll help you around your lot and you can enchant plants. Um, that'll be easier to care for or have a bigger harvest. That's really, really cool. But apparently, there'll also be pixies in the game, and they'll be like magical pests that will attack your plants. It's probably kind of like bugs, but like magical bugs, not normal icky bugs. These are like sparkly bugs, sparkle bugs, spark bugs, lightning bugs, sparkly bug. Okay, anyway, sorry about that. So other Sims can ask your Sim for fairy dust, or you can just give it to them or deny them if that's what you're into. So there will be 8 different ailments that that the fairies bring into the game. They're not all bad. Um, there will be one called Luck Magnet, which will build up your Sim's good luck, but it takes the luck from other Sims. Another one will apparently make you have this like uncontrollable urge to create or paint. How is that different from being a normal sim? If you put an easel in their house, they just do nothing but paint. Unless you're using MCC Command Center, and then you can turn that off. And if you don't know how to do that, just ask me and I'll tell you. Because you can also disable really annoying things like them constantly drinking water and constantly checking on their babies. And picking the baby up and then putting the baby down, and then picking the baby up and then putting the baby down, and then picking the baby up and then putting the baby down while their husband is standing behind them, also waiting to pick the baby up and then put the baby down. So, Sims logic. Anyway, ailments will apparently be caused by imbalance or caught from other Sims that already have an ailment, or fairies, of course, can curse you with them. And then there's going to be the apothecary skill, which I mentioned is going to be like alchemy from The Sims 3. You're going to make potions, elixirs that will affect the needs or emotions of other Sims. There'll be an emotion stone that you can use. You siphon emotions from other Sims with it, and then use those emotions to create potions. So I'll be interested to see how that all like mixes in with the potion creation that's already in the game from spellcasters, and for the like medical brewing skill that I can never remember what it's called because I never use it. That came with the outdoor adventure expansion pack. So yeah, so apparently fairy sims can also eat those emotion stones, so that's kind of cool. And their energy will decay more slowly. Their emotional energy will decay more slowly when they have an emotion stone in their inventory, so you can carry one around. And then the luck mechanic is new, and it will affect your Sim's chances of getting positive outcomes. When you're crafting or you're foraging, talking to other Sims, and probably just about everything. So this is luck will even play a role in whether or not these like evil gnomes show up in your lot, and I don't know, they probably set stuff on fire. I mean, that's like what gnomes do, right? They steal your underpants and then they set things on fire, and then they profit, right? Gnomes? That's what they do. They steal your underwear. Okay. Anyway, so you can check your Sim's luck by looking at their Simology panel, and you can change it and affect it in different ways, like with a fairy, or by asking their new NPC, Spruce Almighty, for help. So, that's interesting. And so the new world is called the Coast of Ardmore. It's a Celtic inspired town. It has walkable streets. It's got a giant gnome statue, which you can see here, and it's got all sorts of like, it looks like it's going to be really really cute. There's a nature focused community. It's got a place called Everdew, which is where all the fairies gather, in the Mossville Fairy Hub, which is located there. So I'm really excited. I can't wait. I'm probably going to build houses here. I tend to kind of stick to the same neighborhoods, but I can already tell just from looking at this that I'm gonna looks very colorful, very cute, very, very, like otherworldly in a way. So I'm excited about that. And of course, there's going to be some new NPCs. We'll be able to summon Mother Nature, and she will help Sims become fairies. And there's going to be a tree statue that summons Spruce Almighty. So apparently, he will like help you out around your lot or improve your luck. And you can put a statue on your own lot if you want to summon the tree easily. So as you can see, if you pre-order the expansion before August 21st, you'll get a little pond that you can put in your yard and a lantern and a little fairy house, which I imagine is where you can go to woohoo if you want to be really tiny and woohoo in the fairy house. I imagine the fairy house, it probably has like itty bitty teeny weeny little furniture, and like I wish you could see inside the fairy house. That would be cool. What if we could decorate the fairy house? Like go in the fairy house, like have a house and a house. It's like I heard you like a house, so I'm gonna give you a house to build while you build your house. Okay, I'm done with that. So, yeah, I am super, super stoked. I am really, really excited. If you guys are excited as I am, please let me know. If you think it's absolutely silly that I'm excited about The Sims, you can also let me know that. I really don't care. You're allowed to be wrong, as Amethine says. Uh, and, if there's anything that you guys would like me to do in The Sims, if you want to see me just like mess around or have some fun or set up some scenarios, or if you want me to talk about different ways that you can get things done in The Sims, if you're trying to accomplish something, let me know. And so that's all I have for you guys today. I'm Twist and I'm out of here. I'll see you around.